All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Prashant Kumar Sinha. The headlines. G7 summit kicks off in Germany, announces $600 billion infrastructure initiative to help developing countries tackle climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with Indian community in German city of Munich, lauds their contribution in promoting India's success story and acting as brand ambassador. Prime Minister Modi meets Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez on the sidelines of G7 summit. Rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde moves Supreme Court challenging disqualification notices issued to rebel Maharashtra MLAs by Deputy Speaker. Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari asks State DGP to provide adequate police protection to families and homes of rebel MLAs. Social activist Teesta Setalwad and former Gujarat DGP R.B. Srikumar remanded to police custody till July the 2nd in fabrication of evidence case. President Ramnath Kovind to visit Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh today. Iran launches a solid-fueled rocket into space. And in cricket, India beat Ireland by 7 wickets in first T20 international of 2-match series at Dublin. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. Coming to our 91st question of the Amrit Mahotsav quiz in English. Freedom fighters Mallappa Dhanshetty, Sri Krishna Sharda, Qurban Hussain and Jagannath Shinde were associated with which movement in Maharashtra? I repeat, freedom fighters Mallappa Dhanshetty, Sri Krishna Sharda, Qurban Hussain and Jagannath Shinde were associated with which movement in Maharashtra? Listeners can send their responses to the question over WhatsApp on 882-654-6262. I repeat, 882-654-6262 or through email on amritmahotsav@prasarbharati.gov.in. And now the news in detail. Leaders of the Group of Seven G7 began 3 days of talks yesterday in Germany's Bavarian Alps. One of the first announcements was a $600 billion infrastructure initiative to help developing countries tackle climate change. The initiative is seen as the West's response to China's massive Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. US President Joe Biden said this is not aid or charity, but an investment that will deliver returns for everyone, including the American people and the people of all our nations. China has been accused of trapping low-income countries into unaffordable debts to be part of its $1 trillion BRI push. EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen said G7 is offering sustainable quality infrastructure and will be listening closely to the recipient countries. Shortly before the G7 summit began, London announced that UK, along with US, Japan and Canada, will ban new imports of Russian gold to tighten the economic effect of sanctions on Russia. The joint action will directly hit Russian oligarchs and strike at the heart of Putin's war machine, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said in the statement. Washington said the decision will be formally announced as a G7 move on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that India is witnessing a tech and digital revolution. He said from the largest vaccination drive to public procurement to use of drones in agriculture, India is now moving towards an innovation-led future. Addressing the Indian diaspora at a community event at Munich in Germany yesterday, Mr. Modi stated that the country is making new records in data consumption, data prices and even digital transactions. The Prime Minister said India has shown that democracy can deliver and has delivered. Mr. Modi said, today we can proudly say that India is the mother of democracy.
हम भारतीय कहीं भी रहे अपनी डेमोक्रेसी पर गर्व करते हैं और हिंदुस्तानी गर्व से कह सकता है कि भारत मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है। लोकतंत्र का हजारों वर्षों का हमारा इतिहास आज भी भारत के कोने कोने में जीवंत है।
Mr. Modi said the new India is at the forefront of Industry 4.0. He said be it IT or digital technology, India is shining at every front. Mr. Modi said the India of 21st century is leading the Industry 4.0 revolution.
आप सभी इस बात से परिचित हैं कि पिछली शताब्दी में तीसरी औद्योगिक क्रांति का जर्मनी और अन्य देशों ने कितना लाभ उठाया। भारत उस समय गुलाम था और इसलिए वो इस दौड़ में बहुत पीछे रह गया। लेकिन आज 21वीं सदी का भारत चौथी औद्योगिक क्रांति में इंडस्ट्री 4.0 में पीछे रहने वालों में नहीं बल्कि इस औद्योगिक क्रांति का नेतृत्व करने वालों में से एक है।
The Prime Minister said, in India, now we have a unicorn every 10 days. 5,000 patents are being filed every month. The Prime Minister said, we are progressing and we are growing. He said during COVID-19 pandemic, India ensured free ration to 80 crore poor people. He said few examples of the shining new India of 21st century are GEM portal, which has over 50 lakh sellers. 12 to 15 lakh Indians are booking tickets online. Drones are being used to sprinkle fertilizers, and PM Swamitva Yojana has helped in digital mapping of property in villages.
भारत में सरकार ने एक योजना शुरू की है, स्वामित्व योजना। इस योजना के तहत देश के लाखों गांवों में जमीन की मैपिंग, घरों की मैपिंग का काम ड्रोन ही कर रहे हैं। इस अभियान के द्वारा करोड़ों नागरिकों को प्रॉपर्टी सर्टिफिकेट दिए जा रहे हैं। प्राकृतिक आपदाओं के समय, राहत और बचाव के समय भी ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल भारत में लगातार बढ़ रहा है।
The Prime Minister said the government had put an ambitious target of 10% ethanol blending in petrol, and it was achieved 5 months before the target. The Prime Minister said India is now on an unstoppable path of growth. Mr. Modi said climate change is not only for government policies, but today our youth are also adopting pro-climate technologies and sustainable prices.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez in Munich on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Both leaders discussed ways to deepen the commercial and cultural linkages between the two countries. This was the Prime Minister's first bilateral meeting on his two-nation tour. India-Argentina relations were elevated to the level of strategic partnership in 2019. Multifaceted relations between the two countries have strengthened over the years and encompass political, economic, cultural and scientific and technological cooperation. The Indian Embassy in Argentina said India opened a trade commission in Buenos Aires in 1943, which was later converted into one of the first embassies of India in South America in 1949. There are around 2,600 NRIs and PIOs in Argentina. The majority of them live in the capital city of Buenos Aires, including professionals working with Indian companies and multinational corporations. India was ranked as the fourth largest trading partner of Argentina in 2021, worth $5.7 billion. Rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde has moved the Supreme Court challenging disqualification notices to rebel Maharashtra MLAs by the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Shinde has sought direction to Deputy Speaker to not take any action against rebel MLAs regarding disqualification under MLA defection rules. The petitioner also sought direction to not take any action against the rebel MLAs until the resolution for removal of the Deputy Speaker is decided. A vacation bench of the Apex Court will hear Eknath Shinde's plea against disqualification notice today. The plea also challenges the appointment of Ajay Chaudhary as the Shiv Sena's legislative leader in the House in place of Mr. Shinde. The plea also sought direction from concerned authorities to provide security to the family of the petitioner and all his supporters within the Shiv Sena Legislature Party SSLP. In the petition, Mr. Shinde termed the action against him and others as arbitrary and illegal exercise of provisions of Schedule 10 of the Constitution of India.
Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari has asked Maharashtra Director General of Police DGP Rajneesh Seth to provide adequate police protection to the families and homes of rebel MLAs. The governor had received a representation from 38 MLAs of Shiv Sena, 2 members of the Prahar Janshakti Party and 7 independents regarding the withdrawal of security to them. These MLAs had written to the governor that the police security of their families has been illegally and unlawfully withdrawn. Earlier, rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde had accused the MVA government of withdrawing security from the residences of 38 party rebels, including himself and their families, and dubbed the action as political vendetta. The centre yesterday extended Y+ security cover of CRPF commandos to at least 15 rebel Shiv Sena MLAs. More from our correspondent.
Facing its worst ever crisis since inception, the Shiv Sena is making all the attempts to save its face from further embarrassment. However, it appears that the efforts to keep the flock together is not yielding any positive result, as Higher and Technical Education Minister Uday Samant joined the Eknath Shinde-led group in Guwahati last night. Samant is believed to be the close aide of Thackeray Saion, Aditya Thackeray. As the deadline to reply to the notices on disqualification to the rebel MLAs ends today at 5:30 p.m., Mr. Shinde has knocked the doors of the Supreme Court to get some relief. The matter will be heard at 10:30 this morning. This apart, the Office of Maharashtra Home Minister has said that state police is on alert and geared up to deal with any law and order situation. Prohibitory orders are in force in various parts of the state, and anybody trying to disrupt peace will be dealt with as per the law, it said. Meanwhile, Eknath Shinde in a latest post last night questioned how can Balasaheb Thackeray's Shiv Sena support people who had direct connection with culprits of Mumbai bomb blast, Dawood Ibrahim, and those responsible for taking lives of innocent people of Mumbai. He said that's why he and the other rebels revolted. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Union Minister Piyush Goyal said the country's textile sector has the potential to grow to a 20 lakh crore rupee industry in the next 5 years. He visited the Netaji Apparel Park in Tirupur yesterday and interacted with the textile industry leaders. He said India's textiles exports are set to grow to 10 lakh crore rupees in 5 years. Mr. Goyal noted that all over India, roughly 3.5 to 4 crore people are engaged in the total value chain of the textile sector. He said textiles is the second largest job provider after agriculture.
Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia said the centre will roll out the One Nation, One Dialysis program to help patients undergoing dialysis get the procedure done anywhere in the country at any time. Dr. Mansukh Mandavia participated in the cycle rally organized by the National Health Mission on the iconic Marina Beach this morning. Later, he inspected the Tamil Nadu government multi-super specialty hospital in the city. He also laid the foundation stone for the central government health scheme's wellness center at Avadi, a Chennai suburb, through video conferencing. During his interaction with the central and state health officials, the minister said the centre is aiming at making the nation malaria-free by the year 2030. A 37-member team of students and teachers of Manipur Institute of Technology is visiting Madhya Pradesh under Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat Abhiyan. This team will participate in various cultural, educational and social activities during this visit. Let's hear more on this from our correspondent.
Dr. Archana Kirti Chaudhary, Principal of IPS Academy Institute of Engineering and Science Indore, who hosted the visiting team of Manipur, said that this will further strengthen the relationship between the two states.
मणिपुर इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी के प्रख्यात स्कूलों के लगभग 40 छात्रों का उनके शिक्षकों के साथ 7 दिवसीय दौरे का आयोजन किया जा रहा है, जिसमें छात्रों को मध्य प्रदेश की संस्कृति, भोजन, पोशाक आदि के बारे में जानने का अवसर मिलेगा। इस यात्रा के दौरान छात्र परस्पर बातचीत के माध्यम से अपनी संस्कृति को साझा कर सकेंगे।
Professor Rupesh Dubey, the local convener of this Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Abhiyan, informed that to get acquainted with the culture and various aspects of the state, this team from Manipur will also visit places of historical and religious importance like Indore, Mandu, Omkareshwar, Ujjain and Maheshwar. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. G7 summit kicks off in Germany, announces $600 billion infrastructure initiative to help developing countries tackle climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with Indian community in German city of Munich, lauds their contribution in promoting India's success story and acting as brand ambassador. Prime Minister Modi meets Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde moves Supreme Court challenging disqualification notices issued to rebel Maharashtra MLAs by Deputy Speaker. Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari asks State DGP to provide adequate police protection to families and homes of rebel MLAs. Social activist Teesta Setalvar and former Gujarat DGP R.B. Srikumar remanded to police custody till July 2nd in fabrication of evidence case. President Ramnath Kovind to visit Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh today. Iran launches a solid-fueled rocket into space. And in cricket, India beat Ireland by 7 wickets in first T20 International of 2-match series at Dublin. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
क्या आप कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स की तैयारी कर रहे हैं? आपके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो लाया है प्रोग्राम अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जहां हमें आप प्रश्न भेजते हैं व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करते हैं abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे एक्सपर्ट देते हैं आपके प्रश्नों के उत्तर हर शनिवार रात 9:30 बजे। इस वर्ग का विषय है आधुनिक इतिहास यानी कि मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री और आपके सवाल प्राप्त करने की अंतिम तारीख 29 जून। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Welcome back to the morning news on All India Radio. A court in Ahmedabad has remanded social activist Teesta Setalvad and former Gujarat Director General of Police R.B. Srikumar to police custody till July the 2nd in a case of fabricating evidence to frame innocent persons in connection with the 2002 Gujarat riots. Setalvad and Srikumar have been arrested in connection with an FIR lodged on Saturday by the Ahmedabad Crime Branch. More from our correspondent.
A metropolitan court in Ahmedabad on Sunday granted remand till 2nd July to the Ahmedabad Crime Branch for questioning activist Teesta Setalvad and former Gujarat DGP R.B. Srikumar. The Crime Branch had sought 14 days remand of Teesta Setalvad, saying that she was not cooperating with police during investigation. Meanwhile, the Gujarat government on Sunday decided to form a special investigation team, SIT, to investigate the role of Teesta Setalvad, former IPS officer R.B. Srikumar and Sanjeev FIR lodged against them for giving false testimonies in connection with the 2002 Gujarat riots. The 6-member SIT to investigate the case as per recent directions of the Supreme Court. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
President Ramnath Kovind will visit Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh today. President is scheduled to interact with the inmates of Krishna Kutir there. Mr. Kovind will also pay obeisance at Banke Bihari Temple. More from our correspondent.
Heavy security arrangements are in place for the visit of President Ramnath Kovind. The President's helicopter will reach Krishna Kutir, a destitute women ashram, around 10 a.m. this morning. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and Governor Anandiben Patel will welcome the President here. President will offer prayers at Banke Bihari Temple in Vrindavan and then return to Krishna Kutir to interact with the inmates. During this visit, apart from meeting destitute women there, he will also see the work being done under Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana and may have a look at the handmade products crafted by the inmates. For AIR News, this is Sushil Chandra Tiwari.
Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of 9 national highway projects worth 1,357 crore rupees in Rajasthan through video conferencing today. These include a road project in Sri Ganganagar district worth 753 crore rupees, under which a 2-lane road will be constructed on NH 911 from Sri Ganganagar to Rai Singh Nagar with 102.76 kilometers paved shoulder at a cost of about 670.38 crore rupees. It will be built as a bypass road of 41.524 kilometers in Sri Ganganagar, Sri Karanpur, Gadsinghpur and Rai Singh Nagar. Presidential candidate for the opposition parties Yashwant Sinha will file his nomination today. The opposition leaders are also scheduled to meet in New Delhi today ahead of the presidential elections next month. A number of opposition leaders are likely to be present in Parliament House when Mr. Sinha will submit his nomination papers for the presidential elections. Presidential elections will be held on the 18th of July and the counting of votes will be taken up on the 21st of July.
And now, let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Rajnarayan Misra, who was given capital punishment on the 27th of June 1944. A resident of Bhisampur, Uttar Pradesh, Misra was a Quit India activist. He was involved in the killing of the Thanedar at Mahmudabad, Riyasat on 14th of August 1942. He also took part in a number of acts of sabotage in the district and collected arms incognito for the purpose.
The police declared Rajnarayan Misra an absconder after failing to arrest him from his village and put a reward on his head. He reached Madhya Pradesh under disguise but was arrested for 2 months for taking part in a protest rally.
He spent another 6 months in a Bombay jail under an assumed name for taking part in the movement. Misra was finally identified and arrested from Meerut while staying at the home of a Gandhi Ashram worker. He was brought back to Kheri and was tried under the Arms Act for murder and sabotage.
On the 27th of June 1944, Rajnarayan Misra was awarded capital punishment and hanged at Lucknow jail on the 9th of December 1944 at the young age of 24. AIR News salutes the great freedom fighter.
We also remember revolutionary freedom fighter Ashwini Guha, who died on the 27th of June 1934. Born in 1906, Guha was a teacher at a high school in Chittagong. He was one of the backstage organizers of Surya Sen's group of revolutionaries and aided the revolutionaries after the Chittagong armory raid.
Guha was arrested on the 25th of April 1931 and detained in the Presidency Jail, Hijli Camp Jail and the Midnapore Central Jail. He was declared mentally unstable and unconditionally released on the 20th of February 1934. Ashwini Guha died on the 27th of June 1934. We salute the great freedom fighter. We also remember nationalist Mool Singh, who died on the 27th of June 1925. Singh was a resident of Jaranwala, district Lalpur, now in Pakistan. He joined the British Indian Army but resigned when he heard of the atrocities committed on the people at Guru Ka Bagh Morcha, Amritsar in 1922.
Mool Singh participated in the Jatha to Bhai Phiru Gurudwara Sangat Sahib, Lahore in 1924 against the British. He was arrested by the police and given rigorous imprisonment for 2.5 years. Mool Singh was tortured in detention and died during internment on the 27th of June 1925 at the age of 40. We salute the great patriot.
We also remember Martyr Marbe Singh, who took part in the First War of Independence in 1857. Singh took part in the struggle for freedom from foreign rule in the Bombay Presidency and also offered arms to the independence activists in his region.
He was caught by the British and tried for sedition and rebellion against the British. He was sentenced to imprisonment and sent to the Andaman Islands, where he died in captivity on the 27th of June, 1859. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Iran has launched a solid-fueled rocket into space. Defense Ministry spokesperson Ahmad Hosseini said Zuljana, a 25.5-meter-long rocket, is capable of carrying a satellite of 220 kilograms that will ultimately gather data in low Earth orbit and promote Iran's space industry. Zuljana is named for the horse of Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad.
On to sports. Indian junior women's hockey team lost 1-4 against the Netherlands in the final of the Under-23 Five Nations tournament in Dublin, Ireland yesterday. India defeated Ireland by 7 wickets in the rain-interrupted first T20 international of the two-match series at Dublin. The second T20 will be played tomorrow at the same venue.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. As the Prime Minister lands in Munich for G7, all dailies have covered the news of his address to the Indian diaspora. The Tribune writes, speaking about our vibrant democracy, PM Modi lays out roadmap for next 25 years. On the Lok Sabha by-poll results, the Pioneer reports double blow for SP as BJP rests Azamgarh, Rampur seats. And finally, an Indian Express headline notes, moment of a lifetime as Madhya Pradesh toasts its first Ranji title.
And now, before we end the bulletin, a reminder of today's question of the Amrit Mahotsav quiz. The first man to be arrested in Bihar under Defence of India Ordinance in 1940, this freedom fighter went to Afghanistan during the Quit India movement to collect firearms and ammunition. Name the revolutionary. I repeat, the first man to be arrested in Bihar under Defence of India Ordinance in 1940, this freedom fighter went to Afghanistan during the Quit India movement to collect firearms and ammunition. Name the revolutionary. WhatsApp your response on 882-654-6262. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. G7 summit kicks off in Germany, announces $600 billion infrastructure initiative to help developing countries tackle climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with Indian community in German city of Munich, lauds their contribution in promoting India's success story and acting as brand ambassador. Prime Minister Modi meets Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez on the sidelines of G7 summit. Rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde moves Supreme Court challenging disqualification notices issued to rebel Maharashtra MLAs by Deputy Speaker. Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari asks State DGP to provide adequate police protection to families and homes of rebel MLAs. Social activist Teesta Setalwad and former Gujarat DGP R.B. Srikumar remanded to police custody till July the 2nd in fabrication of evidence case. President Ramnath Kovind to visit Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh today. Iran launches a solid-fueled rocket into space, and in cricket, India beat Ireland by 7 wickets in first T20 international of 2-match series at Dublin. And with that we end the morning news. Have a nice day.